Hi, everybody. Welcome. Day 2, NAB show. You are at the Creator Lab. The Creator Lab has 3 different parts. We have a main stage where we discuss the big issues relevant to anybody who is a content creator. We have the Creator Classroom where we do a deep dive into the problems, obstacles, and opportunities, and the tools and the tips and the techniques that you all need to know. And then we have a wonderful exhibit floor chock full of products that you can use. So I urge you to spend some time here. We feel like early on, we're now in our 4th year here, we recognized that broadcast was changing and it was time for everybody to wake up and pay attention. So with that, first of all, I want to say thank you to Blackmagic Design. Without Blackmagic as our partner since the beginning, believing that there's an entry point for every content creator and then you work yourself up to a Mr. Beast or a Darman. So we thank Blackmagic so much for their support. And Blackmagic has actually brought some of their creators to spend some time with you. We've got CA in LA, my 2 California girls, Courtney and Ashleigh, who are going to talk to you about their channel and what they produce. And they're musicians too, by the way. And then we've got Christopher Cosey, who does a tech and gear and tech YouTube channel, as well as a new channel called Cozy Cameras. So bringing you all the information you need to know about gear. So it really makes me so happy to close out our last panel before our lunch break with Courtney, Ashleigh, and Christopher. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Can she introduce us all the time? Thank you so much, Robin, and thank you again to Blackmagic for having us. We're going to be doing a little bit of a soft moderation, but a talk about live broadcasting. So thank you all so much for being here and taking the time. We will leave about 5 minutes at the end for Q&A, and we please always welcome your questions. So to get us started, for our lovely constituents up here, when you first started building your streaming setup,
We should introduce ourselves.
Yeah. See, I thought that Robin did such a great job. Yes, good thing. So my name is Courtney. I am the co-founder of CA in LA, and we are live broadcasters on Twitch, but we're a multimedia company. So we work in film, we work in live broadcast and music as well.
Film was how we got started in production. And so we have done over 200 projects script to screen. We work with shoestring budgets, tens of thousands of dollars of budgets. It just really depends on who we're working with, what client and what the project needs are. So we brought that production background from low independent filmmaking into live broadcast. And so a lot of our crossover is our stuff has to work for film and for broadcast.
Hey, everybody. My name is Christopher Cosey. I am a YouTuber and I'm a content creator and I have a channel called Christopher Cosey Gear and Tech. It focuses on camera gear and consumer electronics, etc. I've partnered with Blackmagic and Sony and some of those other brands like in that space. And so this year that made me start a new channel called Cozy Cameras, where I focus on camera gear and the different accessories that you use to create and produce content in the creator space. I'm also a freelance sports photographer and videographer in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And so that's kind of where I live. I live in the content creator space, and that's the audiences that I serve, that in the sports world.
Awesome. Okay, let's do an audio check. How are we? Can we all hear? We cannot hear. Can we crank these mics just a little bit?
Hey.
Check, 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 check. All right, how is this one? Is this one a little bit better?
What about this one? This one's good?
And
Okay.
checking. Yep.
All right, so this one I'll project. We're good at that. All right, so let's kick it off with our first question. And when you first started building your streaming setup, what was one decision you overthought, and how do you feel now?
The biggest thing I think that most people overthink when they're first starting their streaming setup is the camera. I think a lot of people focus on what am I going to look like, and do I need the 4K camera and 4K 30 and all those particular things. I did the same thing, but at the end of the day, there's other things to focus on, and I think you can start with a cell phone. Like literally, there's a lot of different ways to start a streaming setup, and so I think the camera is the biggest thing that I overthought when I first started producing content.
Yeah, I would agree. Camera is huge. So we have been live broadcasting on Twitch for 8 years now. So we've seen the waxes and wanes of creation, but camera every single time is like, you can get a webcam. It's going to look great for $100, $200. You don't need to go to the DSLR or mirrorless. That's going to be a couple $1,000s.
Mm-hmm.
I also think one of the things that creators always overthink is, okay, how am I going to make this my full-time job? How am I going to be able to leave? And this is what I'm doing full-time. And the problem with that is you haven't decided, or thank you, is that you haven't figured out if it's sustainable yet. You haven't figured out what you're able to produce that you can do day in and day out, which is the number one thing I would say when creators want to get started. It's really nice to do the bells and whistles and put 100% into your video, but then you have to sustain that. So I always say the consistency is the best practice over perfection all day. So keep that in mind. And our second question is, what's broken or imperfect in your setup now, or something that you work around? Because believe it or not, streaming setups are imperfect. Yes.
Ours is really niche to Twitch, but we have broken alerts. So when someone donates or gives money, it'll play a sound alert that's hilarious twice, and it sounds muffled and reverberated. And so it sounds horrible, but it's hilarious, and it's turned into something in our channel. So we've really embraced it. And what was the second part? Yeah, we work around that instead of fixing it just because it's lore in our channel now.
And mine is it's not necessarily broken, right? But when I stream to members on YouTube. So I'm streaming to, behind the scenes content and things like that. And so it's super organized, right? And so what I'm always working around is, am I giving them the value for what they're paying for, right? Because when they pay for memberships, they're paying monthly fees and things like that. And so you always want to I'm always wondering, am I adding value? Am I giving them the content? Like if I'm showing them this product behind the scenes, am I giving them the information that they're needing to make the purchasing decision? Because that's really what my channel's around. It's like, what are you buying? How are you using it? And things like that. And so I'm always wondering, am I giving that, perfect value? Am I organized? Am I, um, are they seeing me the right way, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty much, the intangible sections that I'm always working around because my setup is pretty simple. So it's more or less the intangible stuff that I'm focused on.
I just want to jump into with the broken alerts. It's meant to say that if something's broken, it's okay if it's not fixed. Just lean into it and find a way to make it a bit.
I agree. Leaning into the imperfection is really important. It makes you human. It makes you seem not as overproduced. And another thing that Ashleigh and I consistently work around, because we use our film gear from streaming to our film set. So we are constantly moving things back and forth, which means we are never cable managed. Ever. There are hundreds of cables all over our studio all the time, and that is okay. So for pre-stream and post-stream, because taking care of yourself is really important, we all know as content creators, a lot of the time we are just running ourselves into the ground and we are saying self-care doesn't matter. So if we have any sort of routines, pre-stream, post-stream, what do those look like? And what do we think would be beneficial?
Yeah. The thing that I usually do is I check all my tools, right? So I'm checking my audio, I'm checking my camera, I'm checking to make sure that I can log into Ecamm. I'm making sure that nothing's broken as far as like getting ready to go online. And that's pretty much my standard. I kind of sit down with my coffee, I sit there for a second, I kind of take a deep breath because you don't know what type of energy you're gonna have to bring to the stream or what type of questions are gonna be answered or asked. And so again, if I'm sharing a product or if I'm talking about a specific subject or brand or, Sony cameras was really big last year. And so like if we're talking about the FX2 and how that's going to be received, I do a little bit of research to make sure I have my, points of information ready to talk about and talk through. But for the most part, my process every single time is very consistent. I'm habitual by habit. So I sit down, drink my coffee, look at my points, check my audio, check my mic, check the levels on the screen, make sure you can see me, and that's pretty much what I do every single time I start a stream.
Yeah, our stream setup is about 30 minutes on the front end. We have a lot of lights, a lot of cameras, 4 cameras, 4 different audio setups, 2 vocal, a piano, and guitar. So checking all of those for levels, making sure all the cameras are on, making sure that our stream deck, which is a switcher, works, and then you can. Yeah.
Also, just a show of hands, how many of you are planning to or have thought about getting into live broadcast or streaming? A few. Okay. I will say that the nature of live broadcast is very forgiving. Often we see it on TV where there are cutaways and there are lots of fancy things, and an anchor only talks for maybe 30 seconds and then they're out. Live broadcast, especially on Twitch, is not like that. So deciding what your stream is going to be about, what you can sustain, and if things fall apart or if you're not feeling comfortable, Twitch really values authenticity. And so if Ashleigh and I need a second, or if something bugs with our tech, we lean into it and we say, all right, we need a sec, which really does lean into our pre-stream ritual because we know that Twitch being as forgiving as it is based off of the show that we've created, it gives us that time to say, all right, something's going to mess up, but we're going to try our best and go into the stream with open eyes and with the most experience and preparation that we possibly can. It's the after stream part that we're trying to prioritize taking care of ourselves a little bit more. It's really hard to be so high octane and perform for an audience because people forget that live broadcast is entertainment. Yes, you're having these conversations with the person across the screen, and for them, they're sitting on their end doing whatever, maybe eating or in their pajamas, and you are an entertainer, and that takes a lot out of you at the end of the day. So also, we work from home. So our studio is in our living room, which means it's really difficult to disconnect at the end of a stream. So we always prioritize snacks and figure out like what those things are to look forward to at the end. And then one day we said we were just going to bring a curtain in there and close it, but we're really trying to work through those things. So snacks is always good. And then making sure you are always drinking a lot of water. You'd be surprised how many times you sit down for a live broadcast. Ours are anywhere from 4 hours to 24 hours. Yes. And we're like, hydrate. We have a hydrate break. Everybody needs to drink water. So take care of yourself and be open about that. Okay. So for our next question, we mentioned sustainability in our description. We do. And what does that mean to you technically, financially, or creatively?
Yeah. For me, sustainability, like when I think about my setup and where I stream from, it's the same. So I don't, thankfully, I don't have to switch anything around. Like I have my Osbot Tiny 2 camera, which is a webcam. I have it on a tripod stand on my desk. I have I do reviews for consumer electronics, so I have a ton of microphones. So I have a USB microphone that's always plugged in just in case, my wireless microphone stops working. I have a shotgun microphone that's above my head, in case I need to turn on my field recorder, like if I lose audio or something like that. And then again, it's my main desk setup. So I just sit down and so it's always ready to go. And so that's the biggest thing for me is that I can always get going really fast, really rapidly. And so that makes it easier for me to stream because sustainability, the more roadblocks you have in the way, the harder it is to get started and the harder it is to overthink, the process and how difficult that is. And so having, my setup the same every single time and consistent, the same pre-process that we talked about a second ago allows me to just sit down and get going. Right. And so that way I don't have to think about it. And from a technical standpoint, again, like my camera is always in the same spot, everything's connected. So I'm just doing short checks every time I get started. And that took me a while to get to that point. I started my YouTube channel with a cell phone in the gym, doing gym stuff. And then eventually I moved into tech and started getting nice gear and stuff like that. But over time, I actually stopped using the nice gear and I started using the things that made it easier for me to get going. So I stopped using my, Shure microphone and I started using a cheap $100 USB mono microphone because I can plug it right into my MacBook. And I started using a webcam instead of using a mirrorless camera because it's not going to overheat and I don't have to worry about compatibility with the different, software that I'm using and things like that. And so sustainability for me is really like, what's the minimal viable product, the thing that I need to produce something decent without having to worry about it every time I start.
Sustainability for us is finding what our pain points are. Where are those points in our process that we're having issues? One of the biggest things we found was automation was huge. So something similar to what you're saying, we have our studio set up and we have all of our settings from lights to audio to camera switchovers pre-programmed into a Stream Deck. And that has been game changing and making things like multi-step. So you don't have to just think about turning my audio off and on. It's like a whole 5-10 step situation so that when you are getting started on stream and getting all of your systems, we have 3 computers that we turn on. And again, it's like a 30-minute setup. Making sure everything is automated has been huge. And then also making sure that all of the gear that we're using is multi-purpose capable so that if we need to film something really quick, we can just take it off one tripod, film our video real quick, and then put everything back. But again, making sure things are fast and it'll help us get there sooner.
Yeah. Yes, we also work with templates a lot. If anybody has created for YouTube or Instagram, any of the reels, I highly recommend just creating templates. They're really easy to make. There are a ton of resources out there in which you can make them, but we rely on them so much because then we don't have to do all of our project settings per every single reel we do. We already load the template in. So that helps us with sustainability as far as time goes. And then like Ashleigh was saying, our gear being multi-purposed is really important and focusing on the quality of gear. I know we all want to sound great and we all want to look great, but we're missing a factor that you have to learn as you go. That's part of what it means to be a content creator is you're going to get a nice camera and you're probably not going to know anything about it. And it's not the gear that makes it look good. It's the person operating the gear that makes it look good. So if your shot doesn't look the way someone who's a camera pro, then we need to go back to the camera and exactly find your pain points, where are the needs of what you're trying to accomplish, and how can you make it sustainable that you can then repeat it, because repetition is queen always.
Mhm.
Okay, so for people starting out with a limited budget, first investment, what do we think? If you have a limited budget, what are we going to prioritize, and what do we think should wait?
Mhm. I would say to prioritize audio first, right? Because people have to hear you, and people will turn away from bad audio faster than they will a bad view, right? And from there, the second thing to me is lighting. Because again, it's that second thing, like audio's first, and then once they hear you, and then now they're looking at you, like, can they see you? And are you accented? Are you the focal point of or are they looking at all the stuff in the background and stuff like that because it's flat on the screen? But I would say that's the prioritization. When you're in a limited budget, I think audio is the most important thing. Being able to talk and communicate to people and them hear you clearly and loudly.
Yeah, when there's video buffer, you usually have a straight through audio feed. And so if your audio is bad, it's very immediately noticeable and people will, same with film. If your audio is bad, forget it. But if your video is laggy, it's forgivable as long as the story is there, right? But yeah, audio and lighting are huge. Everyone goes in for the camera.
I think those are all important. And I'm going to add one more. What you're bringing to the table, your personality, what your show is. I think that's really important too. Something that we undermine often is we forget that community is important. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we're now really starting to talk about community in the creator space. And they're talking about how important it is. And with live broadcast, that's the easiest way to build it because you are talking directly to anybody who's watching you. And so your content or your show is really important. Your personality is really important because people will forgive a lot of things. There's the hook that you bring them in on of camera and audio, but some people will be like, you know what? I don't even care what your camera looks like. I just really like you as a person and I like the art that you're creating. So don't forget to do that as well and prioritize yourself and what your show is about and what you're trying to, whether it's educational or lifestyle or whatever the thing is, focus on what you're really passionate about to then make it equally sustainable.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what does your streaming workflow say about you as a creator?
For me to say I'm pretty laid back. I'm, I'm super simple. I try to be really personable with the people that I communicate with and the community. Like I try to answer all, the comments and things like that. And I try to always be, I learned this term a long time ago, servant leadership. I always try to be servants to the people that I communicate with because they're coming to me for some type of benefit or value. And so I'm always trying to provide that. And so I kind of take the approach that I'm a part of the community. Like I'm not the top of the community, like I'm a part of the community, so I try to just hang out with them and hey, here's the product. Hey, this is what we're working on. This is what I'm shooting. This is what I'm creating. What troubles are you having, and etc. So my stream pretty much that's who I am. I'm just kind of laid back, Leonard Skinner, simple man. So
We're also very community forward. Our stream is literally here. Hi, Johanna. And people from around the world are here tuned in and with us right now in this experience, which is really awesome. So very community forward. We're very wholesomely chaotic and we're very multidisciplinary weird girl art. So 1 minute we'll be chaotically laughing and then a really weird sound alert will go off. And then the next moment we're harmonizing and like putting you to sleep. And then the next minute we're playing a short film. And then the next time we're working on really cool wood burns and crochets. So just we contain multitudes and we've leaned into the variety essence, which is very much how we've lived our life.
Another thing we prioritize is self-care for the community. But Ashleigh and I, like the dream is to be a creator, whether it's in film or live broadcast, or if you want to be social media, whatever the thing is, the sustainability of it, we make sure to prioritize that within our stream. So we talk a lot about what self-care looks like for us because burnout is always knocking at everyone's door with what is expected of us from all of the social media platforms, because for years they just add and they never go away. Like you never lose one. You just have to end up being on all of these social media platforms. And it is exhausting. So we talk about that a lot and what our process is in film and being very transparent with the struggles that we have. So I'm actually going to riff a question because I talked about all of them already, but burnout. I think it's really important we address this. And when people want to get into social media creation, burnout is always on the back of someone's mind of like, what if I can't do this? Like I cannot sustain. So as far as burnout or thoughts on the multiple social media platforms, are there ones that you choose to prioritize, ones you choose to ignore? How do you go about this ever-changing landscape with all of the social media platforms and live broadcast platforms ever changing and ever adding?
Yeah, for me, I when I go through burnout, I focus on one platform, which is YouTube, which is my primary platform. I feel like when I stretch myself too thin, like I feel it over time, right? And each platform has its own identity and its own type of content that it's looking for. And so you can't necessarily just take, I'm gonna take this piece of content and I'm gonna move it over to Instagram, and then I'm gonna take that and move it over to TikTok, and then I'm take that and turn it into a short. Like each of those environments and those algorithms treat your content differently. And so burnout is real, and it's something that you have to pay attention to, and also understand that it's okay to step away from it for a second. It's okay to have a transparent, like, hey, stuff is busy right now, and my next video is going to be 2 weeks from now. I'm not going to have one this week, or something like that. But being honest with yourself as well, right? Because sometimes we see the signs coming and we're like, I'm just going to power through it, right? But then I always think, like, when I'm powering through it, am I actually creating something worth watching, or am I just throwing something together because I told somebody I had a deadline on Friday and I was going to post a video, right? And so I try to prioritize one platform, which is YouTube. That's first and foremost, and then from there I treat Instagram, TikTok, and et cetera, as okay. If I create something, it's going to be a passion thing. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to post it, and whatever happens with it, it happens. But I don't follow the analytics for it. But YouTube, which is my primary platform, that's the one where it's like, okay, I'm scheduled. I'm working through this, I'm working through that. But then when I get overwhelmed, I gotta take a step away from it for a couple of weeks, and I'll be back talking to community chat, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think to understand where we go when we retreat into burnout, it's like we have to lay out our whole schedule. And in an optimized, like healthy week or season of our life, it's like we take our Twitch broadcast, we chop up songs that go well, we put that on YouTube, we pull that as covers, put that up on Spotify. Then we're pulling reels and then putting that on Instagram, and we're putting it on YouTube Shorts. And then we're repurposing stuff for Patreon. And so when we need to slow down, that turns into we're showing up for Twitch and maybe we're pulling covers, but being patient with the seasons of life that we're going to go through, and know that sometimes offline work is going to prioritize over online work.
Mhm.
I'm not going to take credit for what I'm about to say, but we had a conversation with another Patreon creator, and she said the most beautiful thing. She said, what is the point of creating a job that I control? Like, what's the point of me creating a job if I don't love it? So why am I going to go into social media and do all of this work if I'm going to be unhappy at the end and I'm going to be burnt out? Then why even do that? We can get paid a lot more for doing a lot less. So I thought that was a really great mindset to get into when it comes to content creation and what burnout looks like. And for us, since we do so many different things between music, film, and live broadcast, we have to decide where we want our content to go. Live broadcast is not evergreen. You don't make money if you're not sitting in the chair. And so that makes Twitch different. So then you're constantly have to looking to outside sources of how do I make a living doing this? And so if it's Instagram or if it's YouTube, where do you want your stuff to go? If you just want visibility, then maybe you can just pick a platform that you simply post and leave it alone. Or if it's something you want to consistently make ad revenue on, then maybe YouTube is the place for you. So look at the social media platforms, what they provide. Just ignore the algorithm as well. Chasing it, it's going to change and we'll never know what it is. Just don't worry about it, which is why we've said consistency will be the best over perfection always. And when you are posting to social media, just be consistent with the time as well. That way, we'll say Instagram. Instagram knows they're getting a reel from you Wednesday at 10 a.m. And if you keep that consistency, that's going to be the best bet. Okay, so for anybody who wants to get started, I'll have us answer this and then I'll jump into the Q&A. Okay, if there's one tip you can give to anybody who's starting here, what would it be?
Be patient with yourself. Don't go into it trying to be a perfectionist. A lot of people that start, they try to have the best of everything to begin with and the biggest and best plan, and and I'm going to do this, and then if it doesn't work out well when they first start, they get they get discouraged. And so I would say be patient with yourself and just whatever your niche is or whatever that is, just build it based on like passion, right? Build it on something that you enjoy talking about or working through all the time. And that way it doesn't feel like it's work in front. And that way you'll be okay with doing it, even if you don't get the feedback or the return on investment that you think you should get right away. So I think the biggest thing is like, remember that you're starting out and don't look left and right. Just stay forward based on what you're trying to build and then just be patient. I think that's the biggest thing for starting out.
Literally just do the thing. How many people will look at MoMA and say, oh my God, I could make that? Well, you didn't. And the person that did has their work in MoMA. So literally just get started. If you don't, someone else is going to take that niche. And also, you are so unique and you have your own story. You're going to bring your own flavor and your own personality to it. It's the same reason why someone is like, I don't want anyone to see my script. Babes, even if someone gets the script, they're not going to make it the same way that you are going to make it. So don't be scared to just get out and get started.
And remember, yes, the three of us are standing up here, but all of our struggles are the same. They might not show up the same based off the work that we do, but they're all the same. Every content creator has dealt with burnout. They've dealt with this immense amount of social media platforms. They've dealt with not knowing what to do. They've dealt with sustainability. We're all here. We're all in it together. So remember, when you're getting started, everybody goes through this, and we all will. Sorry, it doesn't ever get easier. But we just try to do our best and make something that we love along the way. And with that, I think it's time to turn it over to Q&A. If anybody has any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer. And while you're thinking about your questions, we have all of our social media handles up here where you can find us on these. And yeah, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I have actually a bunch of questions, but I'll start with this one.
Sure.
So how long did it take you to really like find your sweet spot with your content? Like once you started, you tried different things. When did you realize, or how do you realize when you're like really hitting a sweet spot?
I'm gonna be honest, like for me, I feel like my sweet spot keeps changing. All right. Like me personally, I have a lot of different interests. And that's why I ended up with two channels, because my channel started as I started from my cell phone doing stuff in the gym and like live feeding, like, hey, here's me working out, and here's this workout that I'm doing today for push pull arms, right? And then eventually I started doing tech, right? And consumer electronics, etc. Then I moved into camera gear, etc. And because of that, of course, the algorithm aligns, right? But I feel like as I continue to move forward, like I continue to start to find out, okay, I really like this and I'm going to focus on this. And then I started building the partnerships, etc. But for me, that changes over time. Because I'm a YouTuber, so it changes over time, and like as the environment changes, so does the things that I'm talking about and the things that everyone else is focusing on that they want to know about.
We started on Twitch, which is a gaming platform. And so we were gaming, which we suck at. And then we started playing music on the hour, and our community was like, that's why we're here, not for the gaming. And so we leaned into music, and then we started showing films, and our community loved it. So it was like 2 months of us trying to game, and then we found our niche on Twitch.
And your response?
Oh, I mean, Ashleigh kind of answered it for us. Yeah, our niche is also always changing, but I would say maybe 4 years in. So like we've been streaming for 8 years. So about halfway in, we're like, oh, okay, yes. And so you're consistently figuring out how to brand yourself. We've rebranded maybe 5 times, probably more, because we are changing, and your work should also change with you. Don't get stuck. If you want to change and you want to try something awesome or something different, do it. Yeah.
Okay, get your other questions ready. Anybody else? Questions? Right here.
So what are the sizes of your audiences?
To me, I'm right at 20,000. I'm right at 20,000 on one channel, and then I'm right at 1,000 on the second channel. So I'm pretty new.
We're 24K on Twitch, and we average anywhere from like 70 to 300 concurrents per broadcast.
Yeah. And then our Instagram is around 5K and growing.
Next question. Anybody else? All right, we're going to come back to you again.
So the other question is, have you guys managed to find out a way to automate posts? Because I know you talked about the Stream Deck, for production, but like all the things that you do to break it down for different platforms, are there any tools that you know about to just kind of make that process easier?
Content Studio. That is really good. Then we use it often, but that allows us to post to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. Yeah. And you can customize each post per platform within the same post. So Content Studio is really great.
Anybody different, or we stay with the nice young lady over here? Okay, your show, man.
Okay, I got my own show. All right, so how easy was that? All right, so next question is, how do you manage like expectations of your audience when you're burning out? You feel like you're doing too much. How do you kind of like ride the wave with them?
For me, YouTube has the community post feature, right? And then also I do streams for my members. And so I talk about it. Like I talk about it openly. I'm outside of this. I'm not a full-time content creator, right? Outside of this, I'm a program manager for a tech consulting company. Right. And I'm a basketball coach. And and so I'm extremely busy, right? And so because of that, I'm open about my kind of like my time constraints and things like that. I even talk about it in some of the videos. I do the community post, and then like people, there's a feature in YouTube where they can actually post in your community as well. And so in that section, we'll do the community post, but then on Instagram as well, in the stories, I'll say like, hey, I'm a little burnt out, so no video this week, video coming next week, blah blah blah. But with YouTube also, you can post things ahead of time, and then it goes on a schedule. So like when I'm burnt out, then I can have something go that's scheduled.
Quickly, in the last 30 seconds.
Go, please. Okay. Handling burnout. Yeah, we're very transparent. We will always do our best to do as much work on the front end, so that way it can trickle out, and the burnout will happen probably right after we've made that much content. And then we'll say, hey, like guys, we just need a second. We are supposed to stream when we get home, and we're like, we might just sit and breathe for a second. They always want you to take care of yourself so that you can show up and be your best. That's why they're watching in the first place. It's because they love what you do. When you are not taking care of, your work starts to decline. So just be as honest about it and transparent as possible.
You guys are awesome. And can I just say, I love that somebody in the audience became the MC. Thank you. And Juliana Braste, what time is your panel tomorrow? Because these guys should know. Do you know? Is it today? Tomorrow. So tomorrow, NAB is actually talking about burnout, talk about negotiating contracts, talk about bookkeeping. NAB is launching a creator VIP program. It's actually live now, and content creators can sign up for it. Right now, the first benefit you get is media waivers, so that you are not legally liable, like for anything that it's so little steps like this, like you being up here talking and sharing, are so important to this emerging, burgeoning economy. So thank you so much. And we have a treat. If you want to know anything about lighting, we're going to be joined by Larry T and Platypod for a quick demo before we go into our lunch break. So stick around. Thank you.